Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. And on the eve of, well, not really, but when this video comes out, it'll be the eve of the Nationals, the first
U.S.
week of
Nats?
Nationals. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, US Nats and
Or
whoever else is
other
doing
Nats
this
too.
weekend. Other Nats
It's
too.
U.S. and the
Not.
company. Yeah.
It's funny because we're not even American yet. We're doing that thing where we plop that one up the high just because it's the biggest one.
It
And it's
is.
like a
Yeah, they got a
PT level.
calling. Yeah.
It's a 3-day event. Like their Nats is a 3-day event. I will be down there for the calling and just
hmm
to chill. A lot of my locals going, but I'll be there to chill out with everybody. If you do see the Spark Genius hoodie, it's probably me in it.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
unless
it's
someone got a
probably
hoodie.
me in it.
Hey, if someone else got
Oh,
a hoodie of
maybe
Spark
you.
of Genius, that is totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know if Yuki will wear it. Maybe you might find her in it too. I'm not really sure. It's up to her. But we have our tier list. It is. I don't want to say it's late, even though other people put this stuff kind of stuff out. But we generally
hmm
do one every like big kind of season, and this is like pretty big season with the calling and that's coming up. So we will do it. Just kind of lay of the land. I'd be doing a fair amount of testing for the calling in
hmm
general, and to make sure like I'm up to speed on everything. I've also like watched pretty much all the events up to here, all the battle hardens and callings and stuff like that.
hmm
Not live, of course. I mean, the Hong Kong ones are kind of impossible for me to do live, but recordings and
No,
such.
you're not a
So
true
for us
fan.
constructed,
You don't go to
I'm a
every
true fan.
event in person.
I don't definitely. You know, Mr. Moneybags here.
Yes.
So
No,
let's
no
start it
job, no
off
life.
with
Just all right. First one we've
Fab
got is Arachne on the list. So I'm just gonna plop him in D tier. I don't know.
Arachne is just
Has he had
like
no representation like
Missouri.
at all? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, he has no hero text. I mean,
Yeah.
the man needs something. Like he's just like you get to play Arachne. He doesn't get shakedown. He has no text. Or you could play Azuri, who gets shakedown
hmm
and she gets text. And it's
Yep.
just like I
Yep.
don't.
Night and day.
I actually do kind of like Arachne's playstyle, in a way that like it's very very solidly more mid rangey control.
Yeah.
But the problem is just like she just gets outclassed by like everybody, especially
hmm
Azuri.
Yep.
So he's just I don't think
I agree.
if people are playing Arachne, it's just a love of Arachne. Or
Pet deck. Yeah, I know some people who just love Arachne, but it's not to win. It's just to have fun, right?
yes,
All right. Next, we've
it's
got
just that.
Azalea. So fallen a bit from grace, I think. I put her right now at B. I don't know if you feel she
Yeah,
should go higher or lower.
I think B is
Um,
correct. People think
yeah,
Azalea is just like gone because of Warmongers. The problem is that like
that's fair.
even when you get Azalea does have ways of getting around Warmongers, of course. She does have like things like Rabble, E-Strike. She can have things like, if she runs Rain Razors or something like that, she can like rain a Bolton Press out. She has,
Yeah.
I believe she runs Snaps to get something out, like an arrow out of the arsenal or something like that. Like it's not that like Warmongers like turbo destroys the turn. It's just like she has to be more cognizant against those decks to not be arsenaling a lot of non-attacks if there's a better option. Where you're gonna get in that position where like you're gonna flip to opt and then you can Azalea something out and try to get like an arrow in there and you get your one-time snaps use.
hmm
Um, but I don't think it killed the deck because the thing is it's matchups into two of the best decks in the format being
Yeah. Uh,
Azalea.
Dromai.
No, I was gonna say Icelander and Lexi. Dromai is a good deck. Not really one that I say Azalea is good into personally. I
She's
think it's
not
a
really
bit
good
more even.
into Azuri either, I think. So
Yeah,
Azuri,
I think
Dromai are pretty tough.
she does have very excellent Lexi Icelander matchups. Like Red in the Ledger is the Lexi stomper, and if she can
Yeah.
just swing together buffed Red in the Ledgers into Lexi, it's very difficult to claw back unless you've got some pretty big tempo turn going on here.
Yeah.
But it's possible for Lexi to win, but it's favor for Azalea. So especially also Icelander, nothing's really changed from the beginning. Icelander can run Warmongers also.
hmm
So you have shaved a couple points off that matchup, but it doesn't mean Azalea is not particularly strong. And there are some more interesting builds coming out. Of course, you have like that Sandscour build, not necessarily Death Dealer.
hmm
You can have Dreadbore for different kind of matchups. So she has a
Yep.
lot of
Pretty
flexibility, and
versatile.
I think like a good Azalea player can make like a fairly deep run with the right gem matchups, and that's kind of like
Mm.
where the B is. That's kind of like a lot of heroes in B. It's like with
Yeah.
the right gem and the right skill level, you have enough tools to get there. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm putting Azalea.
Sounds good. Okay, moving on to Bolton. C? Question mark?
How did you like that Bolton experience?
It was pretty awful. And apparently he's pretty awful into Icelander too.
Mm,
He's just got bad matchups across the board, I think. I think he's good into Dash, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he can be good into dash. That's true.
Yeah, but besides that, I don't think he really has many winning matchups. So, yep, I mean, pretty much not unplayable, right? He's not D,
Hmm.
but you're not really
No.
going to see much success with Bolton.
Yeah,
All right.
I think C is reasonable, but I think with the caveat that there's a lot of different lists and there's some more spicier lists. You've got like more of like a royal aggressive style and
Right.
more of like a I don't think the fatigue style is particularly good, other than like
Yeah.
maybe Lexi doesn't know Bolton can fatigue and just runs at him. But I think the issue with Bolton is that you gave him on hits and you made like the Lumina build better, but the problem is you still kind of get outclassed with like you have no disruption.
Yeah.
You're really just like a damage output, and you have to be racing with a very low curve because you don't usually run a lot of blues, if any blues, in Bolton,
Yeah.
and
Now
that's why you
it's
kind of
all
said
yellow
Icelander.
based now, especially now with the
Exactly.
more with the cards that target yellow cards. So
Yeah,
it's
and unfortunately,
tough.
other than Icelander, Lexi still does pack. Some of them pack a lot of ice. Some of them pack at the minimum Arctics and Winter's Bite and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which like one Frostbite can kind of ruin your turn
So
with
yeah.
like the yellow paying just for one thing. Like take flight's gonna cost two. Come
Mm-hmm.
on now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So some turns it doesn't do anything, but I feel like a lot of turns it just kind of
Yeah.
like screws you, and then channel just wrecks you. Channel's just like
Yeah.
absolute hell. So I
Yep.
think because those are the like those ice and or ice related decks are probably going to be on the higher end of the especially Lexi on the higher end of the even Icelander the representation. Probably stay away from Bolton unless you are again it's a pet deck. You just really want to play it. You do have like good aggressive output as long as you don't face a lot of disruption. Is really the key with Bolton.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Okay. Next we've got the big boy Bravo. Tempted to put S,
Bravo.
but maybe A. I know he won recently the latest calling, I think. So,
No, I came second.
oh, he was second. Oh, he was second.
Yeah, Pablo lost.
Pablo lost that. Sorry, that's true. Yeah. So
You would
A
think
tier.
A tier.
Yeah. What do
You
you
know
think?
what? It's pretty funny that as like we had this discussion on the channel with Mr. Alan Loop here, all about Bravo and kind of his state in the meta.
Yeah.
And I think Bravo very much overperformed in Birmingham. Nobody thought Bravo can fatigue this bullseye-less Lexi.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that Lexi could be fatigued, period. We saw Bolted and Dory fatiguing that deck. I think the surprise factor is gone. And so it's going to come down to Bravo's matchups where
Right.
you will have to kind of hedge a bit and you're going to have to guess a lot. So if you, because now people are aware that Bravo's actually pretty good at fatiguing. You get another 3 life out of your shield. You're running Sigil now.
Yep.
Like you could definitely build a more mid-rangey controller, more control package with staunches and stuff. And your opponent's not really going to know whether it's that or the more aggressive build. The issue with the aggressive disruption is again it doesn't always line up. And if you're grabbing tempo for disruption and you don't have multiple turns stacked in your pitch stack, or you don't have it at the very least an arsenal. So if you're like taking damage to dominate crippling and you have a crippling in the arsenal, then you can at least rotate it in. You kind of fall flat with that plan because you're taking a bunch of cards, but you still need to close the game. So other than literally high rolling,
Yeah.
you don't have that consistency basis that other decks have. So I think Bravo is going to be unfortunately at the high end of B tier for me because
Okay. Just
I
because
think
of people being ready for him, that he's
I
lost
think
some of
people
that
are
factor.
I think people are aware that Bravo can do a lot of things, and that's kind of why, like, I think for the Birmingham, I think he might have been like an A tier.
Yeah.
Definitely not an S tier. There's just no possible way I see him in S tier,
Hmm.
um, without more help. But I think Starstruck has definitely made him more of like a high B on average, rather than like maybe like a lower B that we had him before. But I think his matchups are mainly skill based, and he really doesn't have easy matchups. Like people will say, like, oh, you could be regressive and you win into Droma. It's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but I think overall, and then people have mixed feelings about Icelander. I think Lexi, if
Hmm.
they're prepared, they still have the edge into Bravo. Like if they have the right plan, and if they practice the matchup, I don't think it's Bravo favored. If they respect them. So I think now that Bravo kind of came onto the scene and overperformed, people are super aware that that deck, and you can see from like, I guess there's only been like a couple battle harns, but you could definitely see Bravo falling off a little bit as far as representation. I think that kind of comes to play into like it'll depend on the local meta. I think in the US there's quite a few Bravos that
Yeah.
just really like playing Bravo. So that deck will do as good as those players have prepared. But I
Yeah.
think objectively speaking, from like a wide open event, I think he's still a good choice, but not like you still need to do everything right and get the right matchups kind of
Yeah,
thing, which you can say about a lot of heroes, but like
that's
this
true.
hero specifically. So I
Especially.
put him at the top of B for now.
Sure. Yeah, we can move him later, but I agree with that. Next we have Briar on the list. Yeah, I mean I'm comfortable with either B or A. I think for her, she's still relevant, and can still do some pretty nasty things, but
Yeah.
just can't clench that last win to get Living Legend. So I
A lot
can't
of, a lot of
say she's S,
top,
obviously, right?
a lot of top eights without any conversion, right? So there's always like that
Yeah.
one Briar that sneaks in, they like losing quarters or like
Yep.
losing semi. I think they all losing. Maybe they don't all losing quarters, but that's kind of what I remember seeing. But
Yeah.
um, I think
Yep.
your issue is that I think your matchup with Lexi is pretty bad. Like I don't think that's really changed no matter what Lexi is really running. I mean, most Lexis are going to run
True.
disruption. They're going to run some ice. You're going to run some like pretty good arrows that
Hmm.
target a lot of things. And then the other issue is like the Briar Brick. You still Rune Blade, so you have to deal not only with if they're disrupting you, it's cool, but a lot of your hands do nothing to begin with. So it's like you can gain all this tempo and then drop Brick,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah.
that's also a thing. You're a little bit better into Warmongers than like Viscerai, for instance. Like you could have like attack action, like insulate it with like lightning, entwine lightnings and stuff like that. Just run more lightning surge from the arsenal, stuff like that. So if you can run more lightning cards, you're able to get go again without using embodiment of lightnings, and that's kind of the key. If you get Warmongered, you can't make embodiments of lightning because that requires
Hmm.
two non-attack actions,
Yep.
unless you just peace, but then you're not attacking.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
so I think the key is, and then your Icelander matchup is still like not very good. Like
No.
there's a lot of tools that Icelander has. I think Briar can probably overcome like high roll that matchup, but it's still not amazing. I think Briar is
Yep.
good into like Bravo and decks like that, where mixed damage is just really easy to overwhelm, and you still like shit on like Rhinar and stuff like that, and other decks that can't
Hmm.
really keep up.
Hmm.
And your damage potential is still there. I just think like your lack of disruption is
Yeah.
very evident unless you can really break through every single turn. I don't think it's really changed there. So I think I'm putting Briar in B tier.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put her below Bravo.
Yeah, that's just like right next to her.
Yeah. Okay.
They're next
Sounds
to the B
good.
heroes are just in B perennially.
Yeah. Okay. Dash. Dash. I don't know. Um.
You don't know. How can
I
you not
don't
know?
know.
Spark of
I
Genius
know
channel.
it's our channel. I mean, I want to say S tier now because you put it that way.
Oh,
Um.
mm,
Dash. Yeah. So how does Dash really do? So Dash doesn't really have many good matchups. I think Icelander's probably okay. Um. Well, you have to if you're charging things through frostbites and channel like frigid, it kind of sucks. But I think you have that
Dash is
consistency to do okay into Icelander for sure.
Dash is definitely like favored. I would say Dash is definitely favored into Icelander if you know
Yeah,
the matchup. Like you have a shit ton of blues and you could be super aggressive.
that's the thing. A
You
lot
have
of
like
blue
stuff
too.
like
Yeah.
you have like Techlo cores and stuff like that can give you a lot of extra resources. Like it's really up to it's Dash's match to lose. I don't really think anything like
That's fair.
if you're wanting to play Dash, like Icelander is probably one of the reasons you'd want to play Dash.
Right.
I think your
But
Lexi matchup
Lexi
is
kind
still
of
not. I don't think your Lexi
miserable.
matchup is great. Like unless you're on like super.
Full
I don't even. Can you go super
control.
heavy fatigue? No, I don't think that works though because you don't have enough
Not
armor. Like
anymore.
you have what? You have Foundry Heart. You have like one on your
You
gloves,
got to
and then
run the
you
skull
have
cap, I
Crown of
think.
Providence.
You run skull
But even
cap.
then,
Yeah.
is that enough armor? Because like the decks that are really actually succeeding are like Warrior Guardian
Just because
Fridge.
they have
Like
so
those
many,
decks,
yeah, so much armor.
they have shit ton of 3 blocks and a shit ton of armor. So they start at like 50 health.
Yeah.
So it's just like a lot easier for them to do it. But I feel like Dash is just like in that midpoint where I think your best bet into Lexi is probably just like turbo boost and run him over with like high octanes and just hope you can do
Mm.
that because Lexi doesn't have like all 3 blocks, right?
No, that's true.
Um,
Yeah. Hard
so
to
unless
do.
Lexi,
You have to get very
yeah, it is.
specific cards to do it.
I know, but I don't see any other way of winning that matchup
Yeah.
consistently in
Yeah.
any kind of way, shape, or form.
Okay.
And to
My
draw,
brother.
my
Oh,
issue
go ahead.
is your Dromai matchup seems miserable. Like I really don't like the
Right.
Dromai matchup, and maybe I'm just like a horrid Dash, but it's just Empress. It doesn't really matter what Dash you're playing, what Dromai you're playing into. It doesn't really
Yeah.
feel like any of the like maybe if you're playing against the red line and you go aggro and get some really lucky like high octane turns or some really good max velocity turns, it's kind of just like they still have enough dragons to just overwhelm you, and that's like you're just pistol hitting and you're giving them space. Eventually, they 5 card hand you, they just run you over.
Yeah, this is one of those
Um,
actually rare occasions where from the Calling Birmingham, a Dash never beat a Dromai. All 7 matches that there were
Yeah,
between Dash and Dromai, Dash lost every single time.
it
So
makes sense,
makes
and
sense.
it just kind of proves my. I didn't even know that fact. It just kind of proves my point even more.
Yeah,
That
you're right on about that. Yeah.
I think Dromai is still a popular deck, even though we'll talk about it in a sec, but
Yeah, we'll
even
bring it up.
the lack of conversion, people love this hero. Like
Yeah.
Dromai mains are Dromai mains. Like these
For
play
life.
it's like looking at Mara and asking her, it's like, are you gonna play anything other than Dromai? The
Like,
answer's
no.
probably no. Probably no.
So I've got Dash at bottom of B tier.
I think that's true.
I got her
I
below
don't think
Azalea. I don't really know if she's
yeah.
above Azalea or not. Below? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think like again, Dash can do well in like a mid-range capacity, but she rewards very high skill play. And so very
Yeah.
good dashes can do well with that hero.
Yeah.
My issue is that if you don't have a lot of reps on Dash or aren't like super up to date on like different kind of strategies and what
Mm-hmm.
the other decks are doing, I feel there's not enough quote unquote free. I don't even know if there's a free matchup period, but there's
Yeah.
not enough like super easy matchups for Dash to be able to like feast on. Whereas like as
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about, I think Dromai is super happy to see Dash. Like I think Dromai would consider Dash free kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
For now, right? Like I think there's always like I'm not talking about the Nitro Mechanoid. I'm talking about the regular
The right,
Dash.
yeah, the normal one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I kind of feel about Dash.
Okay, we've got Dory next. Um, Dory's interesting. The she's the one who has like kind of the opposite problem of Dash, where it's like you're decent into Dromai, but I guess your Icelander matchup. Actually, how's the Icelander matchup? It's probably not. Oh, it's actually okay.
You could run her over.
It's okay.
Like you
Yeah,
could snowball pretty easily. I mean, I think the thing is
yeah. But you're good into
it's
Dromai at
very
least.
much yeah, it's very much like a poker hero, like a poker face hero. Like
Yeah.
it's really just a mind game playing Dory, and your win rate goes up on Dory exponentially if you eat one. Your opponent's never played against a Dory, which is possible.
Hmm.
It is an open for the calling, especially it is an open event, and for the nationals, they might have not practiced into Dory because they didn't think it'd be highly represented. So it's possible they don't have any reps or
Yeah.
very minimal reps. And a
Hmm.
very good Dory player, I'm talking like Josh Lau, kind of like a Dory main that kind of knows all the outs and knows the deck inside and out,
Hmm.
is going to do well, especially in those positions. And I think Dory has a pretty reasonable matchup into Lexi, actually. Like, I think Dory
Yeah.
can run at Lexi, and Lexi, in some situations, can't keep up or like doesn't really have enough tech, quote unquote tech. Like, there's not a lot.
Yeah. You can't
Um,
really tech for Dory, I think, if you're playing
it,
Lexi.
it, it's difficult. Like, your drill shots do work. Like, if you have some, like, a good drill shot turn, you
Yeah.
take a bunch of their armor, and Dory gets like a very mediocre hand. Like, Dory doesn't see their supremacies, or like their
Yep.
steel
Glistening
blades,
steel blades.
glistening steel blades. Like if they don't get any of that early and they can't get anything going, and they're on the back foot, it really depends on how they pivot, right? Especially in that matchup, if they can pivot to just blocking Lexi out, if Lexi's prepared for that.
Hmm.
If not, and Lexi's just running, she can get fatigued, just like into Bolton or Bravo. It's like it's very just like you're not aiming to fatigue them, but you could very much start to
You
transition to
could.
that plan.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then Dory into Icelander, I think it's tougher. I think historically speaking, Icelander's not been a fun matchup for Dory, but I think Dory can be more of the aggressor and run Icelander over when they don't see things like Channel, like Frigid, to really like destroy their turn, right? But
Hmm.
the key is Icelander needs to see a bunch of these like D reacts, needs to be able to like keep up tempo,
Yeah.
and yeah, it also depends on like a bunch of other factors. But I think Dory is like a solid choice.
Yep.
Um,
I don't know exactly where to fit her. Probably higher on the B tier list or low
higher on the
A.
B tier.
Higher
No,
B.
higher on the B tier.
I'm gonna put her below Bravo, above Briar maybe, or maybe Briar is a bit better.
I think they're all the same, honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they all fall under
I'll
the
put mid B.
there are
Mid
matchups.
B.
Yeah, there are matchups you want to see and there are matchups you don't.
Yeah.
If you're good
Okay.
at the hero, blah 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 blah
We're
blah.
we're
Well, they have
getting
a
B
broken
heavy.
record at this point.
Yeah, we're getting
Well,
B
that's the
heavy.
point.
Yeah.
Most heroes should be B. Relatively, like objectively
For a
speaking,
very
they
good
should be
meta,
B.
everything should be B.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
not
Okay.
everything.
Well, next I've got Dromai. So speaking of Dromai, I'm just gonna slot her in S, maybe.
No,
Not S.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay,
Well,
I'll put
okay,
her in
let's
A for now,
ignore.
maybe.
we could ignore the lack of conversion recently because there hasn't been any. Like not even top eight. I
Oh,
don't
is that right?
lately,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, like none of the battle hardens had any Dromai. The Calling didn't have any Dromai top eight. There were some that are like did top 32 kind of thing, and there are some very very good Dromai players. But we have to look at the both builds objectively because there's the red line, more aggressive builds, and then there's the
Yeah.
big Vertigan build, right? So I think that there is some merit to the fact that your opponent won't know which one you're going to, unless you're like top eight open list kind of thing. I'm talking about like Swiss rounds, right? But
True. True.
I don't know how many tech cards there are specifically for one rather than the other. I think the regular Dromai doesn't run that many blues to begin with. Like there are some blues, but it's
Hmm.
pretty blue light in general. Generally, you want the reds to create ash. That's the idea. But the Dromai deck definitely has a lot nicer free matchups. Like she has like a lot of like dash, for instance, like very very nice clean matchups. I think you can do quite well into Lexi. Like you can snowball pretty well into Lexi,
Yeah.
but it's very much skill intensive. One wrong move and either deck can crumble. Your
Yeah.
Icelander build also very much depends on your deck. I think Dromai has game into a lot of those decks.
Yeah.
Again, you kind of mentioned Dory, Bravo, kind of the decks where you're probably not favored. You do have to work a bit harder depending on their build.
Yeah. Rune blades too,
Uh,
I guess, or at
Rune
least
Blades are a pain in the
Viserai.
ass.
Yeah.
And the issue is in Swiss, especially in open round, like 1 through 3, you can literally face anything. Like
Yeah.
you can
Exactly.
face
Yeah.
Viscera, Briar, like any of these decks can like Dromai can win,
Yeah.
for sure. But it just depends on how many more unfavored matchup below 50%
Okay.
matchups you have. And I think she has enough strong matchups where someone with enough skill obviously can do quite well.
Okay.
A tier kind of sounds the most reasonable.
Yep. Okay. She's currently the only person or the only hero in A, so we'll leave her there for now.
I
Next.
think if she converted more tournaments, I'd probably
Yeah.
consider putting her higher. But she's just a very easy deck to run away with games.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of other decks can't really do it that way. So that's probably
Yep.
the line that I'm cutting there.
Okay.
What
Perfect.
do we
So
want?
A. Next we have Phi. Um,
That's
Phi.
interesting.
So he's good into Dromai, I believe.
Mhm.
Ninjas in general, are good into Dromai, so that's good. Phi is also, well, being an aggressive deck, he's good into some of the rising stars like Bravo. He can do
Yeah.
pretty well. Um, into the Rune
Okay.
Blades, he's fair. Like he's actually pretty good into Rune Blades. Into Icelander though, oh, it looks actually. Oh no, yeah, I'm sorry. No, he's actually pretty sad into Icelander.
I think we
It's
have
pretty
to
rough.
remember that Phi representation, like because this is all calling Birmingham data that we're kind of the Rob's kind of quoting for. There
Yeah,
were that many Phis at that event, and really only George Roger, the UK national champ, is the only one who did
mm,
well. I think on Phi in general.
right,
I think bubbling out, and I think the key is the ones we've seen more recently are the Kadachi Phi lists,
right.
which run Mask of Momentum. They're on Kadachis.
Yeah, kill
Um,
Ashwings.
yeah. And I think that list is definitely different. I still think like he definitely has good matchups. It's not like he's a super weak deck or anything like that. I think the key is that he has added some tech with that. So things like Breaking Point, I think, like the same one
Hmm.
Dromai will use to like target Arsenal for Lexi and stuff like that.
Right, add some
I
disruption.
don't Yeah, I think overall he still doesn't run that many blues, like anywhere from like 9 to like 12, maybe 13. There's not a lot of blues and a little bit frail to destroy. He has some armor, which he has going for him, but his burst potential definitely isn't on the same level as maybe Katsu at this point,
Okay, yeah,
with like all the combo shenanigans he could do. But he
okay,
does have more like consistent damage, and it's pretty fair in that kind of way. So I'd probably put him in like the low B tier at the moment.
yeah, okay. That's where I've
Uh,
got him. Yeah, I'll put him low B.
which is
Okay,
hilarious because like he's top beighted a battle hard recently, but where's Dromai? And he's anyways. We're not doing it
he
just like
took
based
out
on
the
like battle
Dromai.
hardens. Then no,
Yeah,
but the issue is like these are all like battle hardens, which are like just
yeah.
like big
They're
armories. Honestly, like
basically
that's really what they are.
they're fair. Well, they're not casual, but it's like you said.
No,
People bring like their pet decks usually.
yeah, and then there's like 10 players who fly across the U.S. who try to like top
Hmm.
eight literally every single event or win
Yeah,
it, right? So you've got a bit of a weird dichotomy there, but I think
yep.
in general, in an open field, I think Fi has like some pretty nice matchups that he can get into. So
Yeah,
it
I
still could
agree.
put him on B.
Okay, I've got Icelander next. Big boss Icelander. Is this our first S tier?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think you can. I don't think you could debate. Like, it's very hard to say objectively with the results she's put up
Yeah.
in the range of events she's put up. It's very difficult to not put her in S tier,
Right.
and that is because the her S tier is not based on her floor. Her floor is actually pretty low compared to some of the other like even B tier heroes that have probably
Mm,
better floors in NAS. But her ceiling, I think, is the highest. And what I mean by that is you'll have like one or two Icelanders in top eight, but once you get there, you have a higher chance of actually winning the event. It seems like that's kind of what it's been looking
mm,
like for the last couple events here. I think that being said, Icelander is an incredibly hard hero to play and learn effectively. I think you need like months of reps on this hero to play at a tier 3 or above event with any kind of like consistent success.
mm.
And the top 10 Icelander players in the world can probably pretty easily be comfortable playing Icelander, but for someone who's maybe newer to the hero in general, or maybe not super familiar with all the rules and like this, like the actual combat chain itself, and like all the shenanigans you can do with your instant speed, things like that, can be very easy to fall apart. And so
Hmm.
she's S tier because of her ceiling. I think her, funnily enough, I think like the two big matchups she has to worry about, Lexi and Droma, can go either way. I think it really depends on the prep, and it's very much a skill matchup.
Yeah.
I think she likes Briar, right? I think she likes Briar, but
Yeah.
not Viscera. She likes Runeblade in general, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Viscera maybe less so, because he could have a build where he has more of those reduction spells. Like if you have more rune chance out, it can break the frostbites kind
Right.
of
You
thing.
can
But
get
I
around
don't
the
really know.
cost. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it really depends if they can just like high roll the shit. Like Icelander is very susceptible to like aggro dexterous high rolling her,
Mhm.
and she starts at lower life and doesn't necessarily have what she needs early.
Yeah.
But an Icelander who's also high rolling, that ceiling is massive. Like
That's true.
channel into 2.5 turns off like anything into Ice Vein is
Ice veins. Yeah.
super annoying. Um,
Sounds good.
but like I think it's really dependent on the player and like the kind of piece. There's also Bravo. That matchup is also kind of back and forth, although I think it's leaning Icelander at this point, but can also go back and forth. So it's really, really skill dependent. But I think the players good there are going to bring Icelander, who have a lot of reps on Icelander, definitely do have a big advantage in the meta, I think.
Sounds good. Okay, first S tier. Next we've got Kano, our boy Kano.
I will say, if Icelander ends up seeing like some of the Azaleas, they might be regretting life decisions. But
Yes,
like
Azalea is a tough matchup. Yeah.
Azalea, what pushed her out in the first place?
Oh,
Like
is that
right
what?
after Outsiders,
Yeah.
yeah, right after Outsiders, like she was super popular up to then, right? Like she was
Mm,
definitely the Bullander list was pretty high in the chart there, and then the Rangers just came and started squashing her,
yeah, that's right.
right? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so that is interesting. I think the Azalea's matchup with Icelander is super good.
Mm,
Now Warmongers, yeah, you can screw her a bit, but I still think like Azalea's, as we kind of mentioned before. So, what are we on next
yeah,
after
we're on
Outsiders?
Kano. So yeah, the Kano. I mean, it's funny because whenever we talk about Kano on these tier lists, he's always like that dark horse where a Kano comes into the tournament and then takes down some really good heroes, but then never really succeeds in the end. So
So you have to consistently take down the good heroes. You can't just like splash
yeah,
like a couple of good wildfire games and then
he's
you just
a
pop it.
combo deck after all. So you do have to get kind of you do have to get kind of lucky with him, but it also takes an immense amount of skill to play Kano effectively. So you have those people who are like diehard Kanos who just like sweep for a while, sweep the low levels of the event, and then just can't really convert it into a win. Um,
I think
so
I think for what it's worth, Kano does better in shorter CC portion events. And so what that means is that for a deck for a event like Nats, right, where like the bigger Nats are 3CC, 4 draft, no, 3CC, 3 draft, 3 draft, 3CC,
mhm,
something like that, 12 rounds.
mhm.
Um it's only 6CC and 6 draft, right? And so it's less fatiguing for you. It's a little bit more precise,
Oh yeah,
and it's a lot easier for you to stay fresh and win those games like easily. Like, because I know like day 2 is usually US Nats is kind of different because it's multiple days of just like games, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about like the regions like Canada, Australia, the UK, those kind of regions. It it seems like a pretty reasonable pick given those. I think if you're playing the calling and you're expecting 12 to 13, like day one is at least 7 to 8 Swiss, and you're not like stupid comfortable on this here, then I don't think it's the right choice. I think if people are rocking Null Rune, that's the issue. Whenever there's Icelanders in the meta, it always side screws Kano,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
now that Icelander's kind of back, people are bringing like AB2, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not that easy for Kano to like consistently kill at AB2. Even AB1 aggro, like you still need to do all your stuff, right? If they can get over, you have no armor. Like you just bum rush them, right?
Yep.
Especially like decks like Lexi. Like if Lexi runs something like Trench Charmers, right? And they have like that AB1 plus Spell Void 2, and they just run at you, and they're able to like chain together like ponders and all these tricks and get like
Mm-hmm.
6 card hands, you're kind of doomed. Like turn 2, you're doomed. You don't even need Tunic at that point, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think Kano definitely needs to sack into like some of the
Okay.
really good aggro decks and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I've got him
Um,
at C currently.
XC is
Probably
fine.
where he belongs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Next, I've got the other ninja. I've got Katsu. So you did mention that Katsu is probably the better is the best ninja currently, I guess, in the current meta. He does have more aggro potential from the combo lines he got. He got
I
Dishonor, which
really
is pretty awesome.
I really want to like I really want to put him in A tier. I really do. Because
Yeah.
he does some disgusting things.
Yeah.
And I think a very good Katsu player can like just keep you guessing essentially. Because Katsu is like Dory. Whereas like
Hmm.
you can really take advantage of people who have not played a good into a good Katsu. And
Yeah.
there's not really that many really good Katsus that like play this hero day, like grind this hero out, right? There are some obviously, but I
Yeah.
think Katsu is one of those heroes where there were a couple top 8 Katsus in Birmingham.
Hmm.
I think Katsu can do well. I think his combo potential is like super high. You run a fair amount of blues, so you're a little bit more insulated into like the ice decks.
Yep.
You don't really get screwed. You can run Warmonger's diplomacy like that. That can run Warmonger's diplomacy,
Sure.
and it's completely okay. You could just like do
You're
your line and play Warmongers.
you're great into
Um,
Dromai, right? You're pretty good into Lexi as well.
You're
Like
you're
it's
you're good into Dromai. I think Lexi is very much Lexi needs to have very little tech into you, and you need to go second. I think
okay.
if you I've actually played a lot more of that matchup recently about against a couple people,
Hmm.
and it kind of feels like Katsu is definitely not favored with correct tech on the Lexi side, and if Lexi
Hmm.
goes second, it's not good for like Katsu really does need to go second in that matchup.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, my issue with Katsu is more the Azalea. Like you see Azalea and you're really sad. Like it's the same thing as before. Azalea is just
Yep.
like
Just like
really
Icelander.
good into like Icelander and Katsu specifically because like around the ledger just it's just like unless you have Eastrek in your hand, your turn's gonna be sad, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not gonna be good at all. So I think I'd be worried about the Rangers as Katsu, and then you can brick like you can all red for sure. You're not running that many blues, right? You could definitely just not have a blue, and they like Arctic Incarceration or give you a frostbite, and your turn is like doomed.
Yep.
Um, but I think the potential for someone just like miss blocking is super high. I don't actually know how good your Icelander matchup is. I imagine it's not. I've seen it a couple times. I don't think there's anything super conclusive. I think it depends. Like Icelander has a lot of tricks, especially with like Blizzard, where you can like
Right.
in the resolution after Katsu's grab the card Blizzard and you just like blow them out of the water kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Icelander does
Looking.
have a lot of good tricks into that deck.
Yeah. I mean, looking
And
at the
then as you said,
stats, it's a perfect 50-50 between
I
Katsu and
I'd believe it. I'd
yeah.
believe it. It just really depends. I think it's really just a skill matchup. Like if Icelander blocks incorrectly, Katsu blows her out of the water.
Yeah.
God forbid dishonors her or some shit like that. It's game
It's
over.
so
Like
funny.
if she gets dishonored, it's literally game over because you can't run your blues as instance,
Yeah.
and you're doomed. You're
Yeah.
just actually doomed.
Just got a Storm
So
Striders once. That's it.
yeah, you get to storm shot. So I think Katsu can do
I
well into this lineup,
I
but
think given how B heavy we are, I'm actually tempted to put him below Jerome High in the A tier. He could be bottom of A tier.
put him bottom of A tier. The issues I really don't like is Lexi matchup right now. Like I definitely
Okay.
don't think it's favored at
Yeah.
all for Katsu.
Things have to go right
Uh,
for him to win.
things have to go very right.
Yeah.
Shove him,
That's
yeah,
fair.
let's shove him in. I think he's so explosive that we really should shove him in the head
Yeah.
here.
Next we have Lavaya. Man, I really want her to succeed, but recent stats have not aligned with that wish of
Is it
mine.
because she just explodes sometimes and you don't even know it until it's
Yeah,
too late?
yeah, exactly. I mean, she doesn't have like many favorable. She's okay into Dromai, I guess, but
I was
not
about to say like
really. Like,
I think her one matchup where she can like smush is Dromai because you can
yeah,
outrace Empress pretty easily. Not Empress, well maybe Empress, but like I'm talking about Redline. I think
yeah, okay, yeah,
you can outrace Redline pretty easily.
yeah, okay.
I think Big Dragon is like you could deal with it. I don't think it's like stupid favored, but I think it's definitely like
You can,
favored for
yeah. I mean,
Levia.
she is favored, looking at the stats for sure. Um, but then like you just suffer into Lexi. Like that's a miserable time.
Lexi, I don't. I think the Icelander matchup is also interesting. I think that Icelander definitely has a ton of tools that can just destroy Lexi internally. Because
You mean Levi?
if you give them things, sorry, that's what I meant.
Okay,
Levia.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
cards like specifically Channel Lake, giving like that whatever it is costing two. Luckily, a lot of Lexi's turn there's not usually a window Lexi has before Levia just like pitches a card and plays whatever for
yeah.
your additional cost banishing because that's the additional cost. Like there's no window before you have that additional cost.
Right, right, right. So you
Um,
get that off regardless, so you can save yourself the blood debt.
yes, yeah. So stopping her from like doing the blood debt literally then
Yeah,
is difficult.
yeah.
But it is also like there are cards just once you get the channel out, you just hit them with enough damage. But the thing is, like, you really need like more bullander heavy options
Hmm.
that they just like don't want to block. Essentially, it's interesting. I don't really know how well that matchup is supposed to go, but I actually think it's kind of even depending on player skill and how much
Yeah.
they know the matchup.
I mean, the more I guess arcane damage heavy builds are going to be really good into her because she just can't block. So you can't fill the grave with Levia. You can't get your blood debt cards off.
That's a big deal.
Yeah,
That's like
it's a big
that's you
deal.
just
Yeah.
but I think into like regular bullander, I think she does have like some merit.
Yeah.
I'm probably maybe very low B to
That's
C.
what
I
I
just
was
don't.
thinking. Yeah, I'll put her top of C for now, and maybe bump her up if there's like a lot of more heroes that come into C.
I also don't know if people have figured out how to not fatigue as that deck because the last thing I saw was Bravo just like they're like again like a Levia can roll well that can roll hot that day and just like have the nuts right off Blood Rush and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
like the deck is still susceptible to fatigue, especially once you Blasmo Fed, or if you miss that Blasmo Fed, you're
If
kind
you
of
miss,
doomed,
yeah,
right?
it's happened.
Consumed, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely happened. So
Okay.
I think that deck still explodes a little too much for my liking to like do super well on average, but it can
Yeah,
happen.
but she definitely got better. She's
Yeah.
definitely she's a fine deck, but into this
Yep.
current landscape, it's pretty difficult. Okay,
Yep.
well, speaking of the boogeyman, we have Lexi. Is
Shove
she
her in S tier.
top of the food
Oh
chain, or
yeah.
is she
Oh
below?
yeah. No, 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 no,
She's
no,
the
no,
best deck.
no. Oh, she's the best deck.
Okay.
I don't know who can argue with
Yeah,
not anyone who says they're not the best deck has not seen any of the results from the past like 3 months.
that's fair.
Like I think anyone who doesn't think they're the best deck might have had some lucky games into some players who
At
never played
armories.
Lexi before
Yeah,
at armories or like just are not just like play against
casual.
the best players on the world. Like play against Michael Fang's Lexi. Well, maybe his particular Lexi isn't the best Lexi, but play against a very good player like Brody's or Michael's Lexi or one of the other Lexi mains that we've seen in Battlehard. And top eights are like half Lexi or more. Like
Yeah,
it's she has such a good kit where you have so many different tech cards that you can bring in and you're able to just come in and be like, I think the meta is going to be these 4 to 5 heroes.
hmm,
I'm going to put these cards in and it's going to solve those heroes, and I'm probably strong enough to beat the rest of the heroes unless I happen to like run into one in gem that's specifically built for just that. It's like remember some of those Birmingham, those like Bolton fatigue lists
yeah,
that
yeah.
will never see the light of day 2, but they'll beat Alexi
That's right.
when they're not prepared. So it's kind of like I think you just have too much right now. I think the
Yeah,
bullseye did like lower your racing potential. Yes, yeah, that's correct. But they just adjusted with other cards to
yeah,
like buffer it out. So
yeah. I mean,
and
this.
Warmongers is like people just play around it. People play Trench now, stuff like that. So
Yeah,
there's so many cards. Like Lexi just has so many cards. It's really difficult to not put her at S tier.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree
So many
completely.
so many shenanigans with instant speed too, like Voltaire and Trench and
Voltaire.
shit like that. And your
Yeah.
Quiver is instant speed. Like you have
Hmm.
so many shenanigans with that thing.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. And the results speak for themselves. So she's
Yeah.
firmly an S. Next, we've got a new addition to the hero pool, Prism Awakener of Soul. So, I mean,
D
she's
tier.
D. Okay, yeah. I'll put her above
Yeah.
Arachne because he's pretty memey, but yeah.
Unless someone cracks that hero, there's really no. Unless you really love playing Lexi. That's not Lexi. Oh my god. If you love playing Lexi, play Lexi.
Yeah,
Unless you
yeah.
really love
Now's the
playing
time.
Prism,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're just like playing for fun, and you don't not expecting any actual results, then you can play Lexi. But
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
about it.
Yep. Enough said about her. Next, we've got Reinar. Really difficult, I think, landscape right now for Reinar. He's not great into a lot of the heroes. I mean, he's fine into Dromai because he can pop, but he really suffers into Lexi. I don't even think his Icelander matchup is that great. Because once you're
It used to be
comboing
okay.
off, it used to be okay, but I think the Bolander list is a little bit worse for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking at the stats, what do we have for Reiner versus Icelander? We have. Okay, I mean, it looks favored from the Birmingham stats.
I think
66%
Rhinar.
win for Reiner.
I think your issue is if you're trying to prey on a deck, Icelander's not the one you really need to be bringing a deck for
Lexi
because
really is
it's
the
not
one
going to
that you
be.
gotta.
It's
Yeah.
it's you can't expect. Just Icelander's such a difficult deck to play that a lot of players just don't like her playstyle, which is fair. Very unique deck. People either love her or hate her.
Hmm.
I don't think like the thing with Oldhim when Oldhim was in the meta and you had a favorable Oldhim matchup and you got a nice ice matchup on the side, then you play the Rhinar because you're countering the deck everyone's bringing, which is Oldhim, and then you counter the Icelanders too. But
Yeah.
without Oldhim to target, I don't see a point in playing around.
I'm
I think it's
looking at
squished
the
by your aggro decks.
I'm looking at Reinar versus Lexi, and of all 9 matches they've played at Birmingham, not a single Reinar won. So
I
you
don't know
can't
how
even
they're.
fatigue them anymore. That used to be a viable strategy, back in Pro Tour One, I think, where you could
I
actually fatigue the Lexi up,
yeah,
but
way back when
that's
when
way
Lexi
back
had no
when.
cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I don't know. I think to be
D
generous, I'd put like yeah. I was gonna say top of C,
D
but D.
D.
D. Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather play Bolton than Rhinar.
Okay, that's fair. Okay,
I think
I've
Bolton
got him
would beat
top of
Rhinar.
D. Yeah, it's pretty rough for Reiner right now. Speaking of D, we've got Riptide,
D.
bottom of D. Yeah, probably
Keep
worse than
going.
Arachne. So, okay, we've got an actual good one now. Azuri. So I'll put her top,
B.
but below. Okay, I was gonna say below Katsu and A, but B,
B.
B, like high B.
Yeah, Lexi's afraid of being fatigued now, so she's gonna run Remembrance, and Zuri's gonna have a really hard time actually fatiguing her.
All right, top of B.
I don't. Azuri is a good deck. I think she's very one trick. Like I think she's very
Okay.
one strat. I think her flexibility is null. Like everyone knows her power cards. She really doesn't have that much room
Mm-hmm.
outside of that. She doesn't have a lot of armor either.
That's true.
So like without the armor, you're essentially trying to reduce the potential of their power with your like traps and then just play some D-reacts. But the issue is that if a deck like Lexi, or even Katsu for that, I don't know, Katsu's, but a deck like Lexi, if they're
Mm-hmm.
prepared for that kind of strategy and they've played into it, it's a lot harder for Azuri to actually win because they can just do recurrence.
Okay.
And Azuri was just preying on Lexi, not realizing that he could get fatigued with a bullseye. Again, this is like past kind of information. Azuri, I don't think Azuri just has enough good matchups outside of Lexi
I mean,
to really
she
consider it.
She is okay. Well, sorry, not good matchups. She's. So I was looking at the bad ones. Her miserable matchups are Dromai and Icelander.
Bravo.
Seems
Bravo doesn't sound fun either.
Bravo as well. Yeah, losing matchup for
Like
sure to Bravo.
those are probably going to be some of the most heavily represented decks at any of these events. They're going to be like those four heroes.
Yeah,
So it's just like then
I thought
why are you playing?
I thought she was better than this, but no, I guess not. She's just like pretty impressive. I think it's because the previous stats of her beating Lexi, like you said, made her look really good.
They
But
did as like a Lexi counter, but the
yeah,
issue is like now I think Lexis are more aware this is a thing they have to worry about, and because
mm,
they're doing it to be like anti-Bravo or just anti-fatigue.
yeah,
If these Lexi decks have any anti-fatigue, it's just gonna be a lot harder for Azuri because Azuri just has like really bad like good disruptive capabilities, but it's just like okay, well you
mm-hmm.
need to do like on rate things half the time and then take a bunch of damage. It's just damage at that point, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't really
Okay.
I don't know.
We've
And
got
then they could run trench, and then you can't even hit their
yeah. Trench
arsenal
is a big deal.
properly.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
big deal. Yeah. All right. Yep. Okay. I got her beside Bravo in B tier.
Yep,
We've got
that's fair.
two more heroes. We got Viserai and Vincent. So Viserai
Start
first.
with Viscerai. I think Viscerai
He's
is C tier.
yeah. I mean, it's too bad. He's well. Let's see. What's he actually good into? I mean,
Roma,
Viserai. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, into Droma, he's great.
but
Um,
he's bad. He's bad into Lexi. He's
he
bad into
suffers
Azalea. He's,
into
he's
yeah.
bad into Icelander.
Yep.
Uh, he's good into Bravo. I actually do like his Bravo matchup. I think it's pretty reasonable for Viscerai. I think he can get fatigued off some Bravo lists. I think Bravo can fatigue Viscerai.
Yeah.
But like when Bravo's running a clean 60, I think Viscerai actually has a bit of an edge there, just because the mixed damage is very hard for Bravo to
Mm,
deal with sometimes
yeah.
if they're able to string together big turns. And Viscerai does have a bit of a fridge to work with. So that matchup can be pretty interesting.
Okay.
But
Yep.
other than that, it's also a matter of, the Rune Blade bricks. So it's just like,
Yeah. He always has that
yeah.
Achilles heel. Okay. I'm fine with that. Yeah. Well, I put him top of C. Last we have Vincent. Vincent's kind of meme at this point. I don't really know. I mean, Vincent has like a really cool gimmick about her, but looking at the matchups, that can't be right. Okay, no. I was looking at the Lexi matchup and saw a favorable matchup for a sec. I was like, that can't be true. Yeah,
You
no.
know what?
Not
You
favorable.
know what? I think she's actually much better than people give her credit for, first of all. I
Okay.
think she just hasn't really caught on
Mhm.
as far as like people always see the negative before the positive, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, there's quite a few negatives that they're popping off here. So disregarding like that pummel list,
Mhm.
um, in general, I think she has some like pretty fun matchups, and I think she has this ability to go tall off very few cards and be able to like carry forward your resources better than any other deck in the game.
Mhm.
Um, that being said, it's comes with the caveat of IPing yourself, IP wanting yourself every turn. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's the one fewer card in hand.
I think low B is reasonable, but I think people are gonna be like, she's not above Viscera, and I'm just like, I can't really argue that at this point. I think she has like some interesting dynamics to her,
Yeah.
but I think high C or low B would probably be equivalent to me, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna bell curve this a little bit. So I think I want to move Bravo to low A. Just 'cause I have so many in the B tier.
All right,
Let's go put him below Katsu. So in S tier we have
sure.
Lexi Icelander. So they're cream
Yeah,
of the crop. A tier we've got Dromai, Katsu, Bravo.
sure.
Then we've got in B tier we've got Azuri, Briar, Droma. Sorry, Azuri, Briar, Dorinthia, Azalea, Phi, and Dash. And C tier we've got Viserai, Vincent, Levia, or Levia, I'm sorry, Kano, and we've got Bolton. And finally in the D tier we've got Reinar. So sad to see Reinar in D tier, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Prism, Awakener of Soul. We've got Arachne and Riptide. So
That
that's
was it.
that's the tier list. Yeah. So top 5 heroes we've got up there. I guess they're probably going to see the most results, and they have in the past. But there's going to be some kind of maybe cheeky Briar. I mean, if Briar does win, there she goes. So hopefully she gets one more win.
Yeah, that would be a win to do it in the calling or doing it at US Nats. That would be a win to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that was it. Of course, these are like based on like past results, of course, and like what we think about the meta and like games I've played, and stats all across the board. This is by no means empirical. Of course, everyone has
Yep.
different opinions here, but if you're looking for a deck to play, feel free to play one of those. I stay away from my slander this close to maybe not a day before Nats, but maybe if your
Yeah.
Nats is
Put
2 weeks
in
from now and you
the
grind in a lot
appropriate
of games,
training for that one. Yeah.
yeah, get a training arc going on. So with that, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Any other heroes you kind of disagree with, or maybe go higher, go lower, feel free to comment about it. And with that, from wherever you're watching in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Bye for now.